If you're anything like me, over the past few weeks and months, you keep hearing about things like Claude Code, CloudBot, OpenClaw, Vibe Coding, and how supposedly these tools are absolutely game-changing and you better get on board, or you'll get left behind. I feel like this is literally what all my entrepreneur and business friends are saying right now. And at first, honestly, I brushed it off. I thought it was hype, but I kept hearing it over and over from people that I trust, people who are actually building things, and I just reached a point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. So last night, I sat down and decided to figure it out for myself. Now, look, I know how easy it is as a business owner to just stay buried in the day-to-day. You're managing your team, you're dealing with clients, you're working on your product or your service or your agency, whatever it is, there is always something more urgent. But I'm here to tell you, the hype is actually real, and you really should make this a priority. Carve out a few hours this week to actually get the hang of this, because since I started, I've realized that the people saying that you'll get left behind, they're not exaggerating. If you don't get on board with these tools within the next few months, you and your business are going to be at a serious disadvantage. Who is this video for? Now, I know there are a lot of very smart, very technical people here on YouTube, and there are already great videos out there from developers and engineers on how to use Claude Code. But I wanted to make this video from a completely different angle, from the perspective of a non-technical business owner. And just to be clear, I have zero coding experience. None. Not formal, not informal. The most I've ever done is change a couple of lines of HTML and CSS back when I was running WordPress sites. And even that, to be honest, it took me like an entire day and I honestly did it pretty badly. If that sounds like you, if you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, an agency owner, any kind of business owner or anything in between who keeps reading the headlines and keeps hearing friends talk about this stuff but has no idea where to actually start, this video is specifically for you, because that was me literally yesterday. Yesterday, I went from never having used Claude Code, never having written a single line of code in my life, to actually building things for my business. Real things, things that I'm going to be deploying to my team today. I ended up building a brand new landing page for one of my businesses, and I started building an internal agency dashboard for my PR agency that I'm now rolling out to my team. And I'm also now planning a whole pipeline of internal tools custom built for our specific processes and our specific service to help us work faster and deliver more for our clients. Honestly, my mind is genuinely blown. I can't tell you how many doors this opens up. The things that you can build without ever writing a single line of code yourself. You just need to be good at communicating what you want, and you'll need to think outside the box, ask the right questions, and think creatively. And you'll be able to make all kinds of things that you never thought were possible. Are these tools perfect? No, of course not. There's gonna be some head scratching, some bugs, and a lot of troubleshooting back and forth. But even so, for what they can do right now, it's absolutely mind-blowing. Alright, so let's get into it. When I started looking into this, I saw people using a few different approaches. Some were using Claude Code in the terminal, some were using it inside the Claude desktop app, and some were using it inside something called an IDE. By the way, I had no idea what an IDE was until last night. Turns out that it stands for Integrated Development Environment, I think. It's just basically the app where you write and manage code. So you can think of it as a sort of like Google Docs, but for code. After trying out a couple of different approaches, here's my take. I really do think that using an IDE is the way to go, specifically VS Code. And I know it can look a little intimidating when you first open it. Trust me, I felt the exact same way yesterday. I downloaded it, I opened it, and I thought, what on earth am I looking at? There are so many options and, it was all very confusing. But here is the thing. Once you actually start using it, it's way simpler than it looks. My friends who are way more technical than me kept telling me that it was the way to go. And I'm really glad I listened. Within an hour or so, I had the full picture and was actually building. Alright, so now I'm gonna show you exactly what I did. I'll walk you through the agency dashboard that I coded last night and how it all works, as well as a landing page that I created for my other business. We're then going to be building a brand new landing page together from scratch using VS Code. I'll walk you through every single step from opening the app to having a working page that you can actually use. But you'll actually be able to apply what I'll be showing you in this video to really build any app, any workflow. Remember, I'm coming at this as a complete beginner, so if I can do it, you absolutely can too. Let's go. All right, so to show you some of what's possible here, yesterday I started building a custom agency dashboard with internal tools. So just to walk you through, this whole thing didn't exist last night, and now we have a functioning login function where I can easily log in and even do like a Google authentication thing. And in here, I've built a settings like a user management dashboard with like various different user roles types where I can invite my team members to the platform. I have a dark mode and a light mode, and even like small things like changing the password and adding profile pictures and things like that. This all looks pretty standard or like perhaps trivial, but I tell you, if you were to do this manually with code, it would take you a really long time. And I was able to do all of this with Cloud Code in a few instances. And then the first tool that I've built is a website scraper. So one thing that we do is working with a lot of clients on our PR agency. We do digital PR for a wide range of different brands. We always need to get an understanding of what the client does and who they are, and to then go ahead and use that in AI models to ideate ideas and campaigns and things like that. So and really to create like briefs and other internal processes. So one thing that we do that always takes up a massive amount of time is that we end up building these briefs essentially to get a better understanding of what each client does. And now I was able to fully automate this. So essentially I've built this scraper feature that pulls up the client website and then puts together a report, which I'll show you a few examples of, where it's going to be getting their logo, it's going to be getting their brand colors and a lot of other things. So yeah, just as one example, it pulls all of the brand colors for this website. It also pulls a lot of like context that we can use in LLMs. So essentially I've added like scrape all the key pages and have like all of the text so that AI models get a really good idea of what this website is about. And yeah, it can do this for all kinds of different sites. As you can see, this is for another website that I run. It pulled all the brand colors, so this is also super useful for the design briefs, even typography, so we can like customize decks and things like that for them. And yeah, it works really well. There was some troubleshooting involved, but overall, I'm very happy with this functionality. And next up, I'm planning on building onto this tool to add additional workflows. So for instance, I'm gonna be like adding like a content creator, like based on this data, and do all sorts of crazy things with it. But just as one example, I've now have like the basis for for these tools, and then I'm gonna add like multiple new tools to the pipeline as needed over the next few days. Another examples of what's possible, I'm also now working on an online personal training business, Bespoke Fit. This full page, all of the copy, all of the team, all of these things that you're seeing right here, they were all done by Cloud Code as well. So, down to the video feature, all of the copy, all of like these animations when I hover with my mouse over the window, and, the jump anchors. I mean, of course, it's pretty basic, but then again, it just took me like a few minutes to do. It's just to give you like a very quick preview of what's possible. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. To do this, I will actually go ahead and create like a brand new web page, landing page for Bespoke Fit. I'm not entirely sure I like how this one looks, so we'll try and do something entirely different. So first off, to get started, you'll want to download VS Code. So just go to the Visual Studio website and download VS Code for your computer. Once downloaded, you'll get like a very brief onboarding thing where you'll be asked to log into your GitHub, and then you should have a window like this open. Next up, you'll want to actually go and download the Cloud Code extension. So to be fair, you can also use Codex, Gemini, and a lot of these other things, but Cloud Code seems to be the best option section that there is right now. So to do that, you'll just want to go over to this button over here, which is called extensions, and search for Claude, and then install it from here. And once you've done that, you're pretty much ready to go. Next up, you'll want to go over here to this Explorer section and create a new folder. So folders essentially are where you're going to be working with things, and where you'll be putting all of your files. So it's going to be like your project folder for the specific thing that you're building. So just click here, and then, or actually, no, I think I just created a new folder, but you want to go to File and then Open Folder. And then, in here, I've already have, 2 folders, but I'm just going to create like a new one so you can get an idea of what it would be like to start a brand new project. So in this case, I'm going to call this Bespoke Fit New Website, and then open the folder. So if you've downloaded Visual Studio Code, you've created a folder, you've installed Cloud Code, this is what it should all look like on your end. You'll have this chat section on the right, but you're not really going to need it since we'll only be using Cloud Code. And you'll then want to go ahead and open this. Now, before we go ahead and get started, one thing that I wanted to mention as well is few prerequisites that you'll want to have. One being a voice to text app. So there are a few different ones out there. The one I like to call, it's called Super Whisper, but you also have Whisperflow and a lot of similar ones out there. I prefer Super Whisper as I feel like it's the easiest one to use, and you can really use any. And the reason for this is because it's just so much easier to actually provide the context that you need to the AI when you're speaking out loud rather than typing. And I know you may be a fast typer. I am as well. I'm, I think 95 words per minute on my keyboard, but even so, it's just so much faster and so much easier to articulate yourself when you're speaking out loud. So highly recommend using that. Additionally, before we get started, another thing you'll also want to think of is these things that are called cloud skills. So there are a lot of cloud skills out there, and essentially what these are is that they are a set of instructions that you can add to your cloud code that are going to tell it what to do and how to operate so that it does the things that you want in the most optimal way. So for instance, there is endless options with this, but the ones I've downloaded myself are senior front end, senior architect, and I believe senior backend. And just to give you an idea of what this looks like, I mean, I'm not very technical myself, but they are a very clear set of instructions of how people that are much more expert than me and you have outlined is the best practice and the best way for Claude to actually build the code and the things that we want. So as you can see here, it's providing instructions on how to go about things. You don't really need to understand any of this. Just make sure that you're getting skills that are trusted and that you think make sense. So you like using these templates that I found yesterday, and this seems to have worked really well for me, but you can find them from a lot of different sources. So to install them, you'll want to copy this code and then paste it into your Cloud Code interface. And then that will add the skill. To start off, I'd recommend installing 3 to 4 just to get an idea of how they work. And you can also ask your favorite AI chat which ones it recommends for a specific project that you're working on. So that's what I did. I explained what I was trying to build yesterday, and then my Gemini told me which skills to download. So once you've downloaded the skills that you need for the specific workflow that you're going to be build, we can actually go ahead and get started. So we've now created the folder. We have Cloud Code running, and now we are going to be wanting to do what's called plan mode, which is essentially where Claude goes ahead and strategizes about what we're going to be doing before actually starting to do the code. And from what all the videos that I've watched have said, and what outlines in my own experience, this is the best way to go to actually get the highest quality results. So I'm gonna paste in a brand overview of the brand that you just saw, and then I'm gonna be putting this over here. And then I'm going to do a voice prompt just to show you what we can do. Hey, I'd like to make a landing page for this new premium brand that I'm about to launch. Can you create and like plan how we might go about this, and then later on I'd like you to create an initial version of the full landing page, including relevant copy, buttons, and features that you see fit, and it should all be plug and play and ready to go. So can you please think hard about this and find the best strategy to go about creating this landing page based on your understanding of the brand and what it does. Feel free to ask me any relevant follow-up questions if you'd like and if you see fit. Thank you. And essentially what this is going to do is that it's going to research and think really hard about what the brand is about and what it needs to do. And it's also very interesting to, like look at what it's doing and how it's thinking, so you can get an idea for how it all operates. So as you can see now, Cloud Code is thinking about, all of this problem. It's analyzing the competitor websites. It's looking at what's happening across all of these sites, and then eventually it's going to come up with a plan of action for us. All right, so now we've let Claude finish doing the planning, and as you can see, it's asking some questions here. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and fill this up. And now it's going to go ahead and finalizing the plan of action. All right, so now it's opened the full plan of action, which I can review and revise if I wanted to. It's telling me, the tech stack that it's going to be using, the colors that it suggests, the various sections and things that it thinks would make sense in here. Then it's asking me to whether I accept the plan. And here, I could obviously, if I was to do this for real, I could also revise the plan and provide feedback on what I want to be done differently. But in this case, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and auto accept. And as you can see, now it's creating the various files, the favicon, the landing page itself. And as you can see over here in the left side folder, we can now see the various files are starting to appear inside of the folder. I'm going to let it run, and then I'll get back to you once it's finished. All right, so it's run for about 5 or 6 minutes. And as you can see, it's now created a full landing page with a bunch of different sections and copy and different things and animations and all sorts, as well as a favicon. I didn't actually even provide a logo, but let's see how this went. So I'm just going to go ahead and reveal this in Finder and then open it up here. And wow. Look at this. It's already built up a whole thing. So like animations, cards, outlining the whole process. It's built up like color codes and like feature boxes of, and notice as well these cool animations, like whenever I hover my mouse over this. And it's already like built up sections for each coach, even testimonials that it's made up, card to outline the setup, and an FAQ section. I mean, I don't know if you realize this is of course a relatively simple landing page and it's not perfect, but all of these things would have taken forever to actually do before manually, and it did it all for me. And of course this isn't perfect, there is a lot that I would like to change here, but as a first step it's really good. And just to get you an idea as well of how you can go ahead and edit this stuff, right? It's actually pretty straightforward. So just to give you an idea, I'm now gonna talk with Claude and tell you what I wanted to edit. Hey, I don't have a logo file right now. Can you please generate one for me, like an SVG file that you think makes sense within the similar type color scheme? And then I want you to remove all M dashes from everywhere in the site. And additionally, I would also like for you to add a picture of me on the trainer section, like the coach session. Yeah, and revise the logo on both of these places. All right, thank you. Can you please sort this out? Then gonna paste that in. All right, so now I found the picture that I want to be used in that section, and I'm gonna add it here. And then I'm gonna say it to the thing as well. And then I'm gonna say to Cloud Code, hey, I've now added a profile picture that I want you to use in the expert coaches section for the first coach, and just change the first coach name to Coach Carl and add this picture and cut it in, resize it in an appropriate way so it will fit in the box that you've created. Can you please implement these changes? Thank you. And then then I can also mention, and please move the image file somewhere where you see fit. Thanks. And rename it accordingly. And then I'm going to let it run and do its thing. And it's essentially going to take care of everything that we need to do. It's found the image. It's reading the index file, which we can also access here. And then it's going to go ahead and do the changes. All right, so it's now done applying the changes, and we can now refresh the page. And as you can see, I'm in here and it's created a logo. There is a small bug, but we can easily fix it if we want to. We can, just tell Claude what we want, right? So we could say, thank you, this looks great. However, the logo is cut off. It's not showing like the full fit of the branding. Can you please fix that? Thank you. And then, paste in the image, and then it should understand what we want and adjust from there. And here we go. Now it's fixed. Of course, there is a new space in here, but we could easily change that again. So you get the idea. This is essentially how you can use Cloud Code to build anything you want. You just really have to go back and forth with it and change things and provide feedback until you're happy with the result. And by doing things this way, you can really build anything you want. Another thing that I will mention is two features that I found quite useful. One is the enabling a flag, which is called allow dangerously skip permissions. And this essentially enables this mode that it's called bypass permissions in here. Because when you're working with big files, it's going to end asking you for permission before changing anything. And while that sounds like a good idea, it's just going to bog you down and slow you down significantly. So I think it's much better to use this and follow along. As long as you do things in the right way and you're working within a local environment, you shouldn't really be in trouble. And then whenever you want to save your progress as well, like you finish working on a bug or a new feature, you should always do push to GitHub, and you can just ask Cloud to sort it out, and then it's going to do all of that for you essentially. And this is really good practice, as it's going to ensure that you don't lose any of your files. So as you can see, I didn't even have repo for this, but it created what I needed, and it's uploading it over there. And as you can see on GitHub here, we now have the full files available. And this is really good practice, because if you ever mess anything up, you can easily go back and have Claude restore your progress. The very final thing that I would recommend is to create a cloud.md file. So essentially, as you can see here, you get the context window fills up quickly. So it's good practice whenever you're working on a new request or really any new feature to always do a slash and then clear conversation and then start afresh. Inside of it'll still be inside of here, link of the folder that you have open, but it won't remember anything about your project. And if it needs to go through all of the project files from scratch, this is going to take a really long time. So it's much better to have it create a static file, because that static file is going to be read by Claude whenever you start a new chat. So one way to do this is to just ask it to do it once again. Hey, can you create a cloud.md file that explains in detail what this project is about and gives well, I'm not sure about detail, but it gives the relevant context that the AI needs to actually make this useful for new chat and that just so that the chat knows what the project is about and it remembers what's needed. And also, if you could as well document anything about the architecture or how this is all structured, that would be great. Thank you. And then it's gonna create a cloud.md file according to what we need. And yeah, as you can see, it now created a file that Claude Code will always review whenever you're starting a new chat to remember the relevant parts. So yeah, as you can see, not bad for something that we were able to do in just a few minutes. So that's it. That's how I went from never having touched Cloud Code to building real tools for my business in a single day. No coding background, no technical skills. Just a clear idea of what I wanted and the willingness to sit down and figure it out. If you're a business owner or entrepreneur and you've been on the fence about this stuff, stop waiting. Open up VS Code, install the Cloud Code extension, and just start talking to it. Start with something simple, a landing page, an internal tool, a dashboard, whatever your business actually needs. And I promise you, once you see what's possible, you won't look back. If this video was helpful, let me know in the comments. I'm planning to do more of this as I keep building and learning. And if you've got questions, drop them below. I'm learning right alongside you. Thanks for watching. Now, go build something.